Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Chestnut and my research project for Project 1 is my journey of learning more about classroom management theories and styles and things like that. So for my first part of my project is my initial research on the different theorists, and you can find that in the PowerPoint. It should be the slides before this one. And my guiding question for that was, what are some of the different classroom management styles and theories? So that's for part 1. And part 2 is me kind of talking about kind of like my journey and researching the different theorists and classroom management information. So for part 2, I had 3 guiding questions like with my part 1. So those questions are, what have I learned about classroom management? Do I feel more comfortable about which would work best for me? And what are my thoughts now at the end of this project? So to give you a little bit of background for my initial thoughts before I began my research and just when trying to figure out what I wanted to do for this project, I've always had concerns about classroom management in the past and well, not currently, but before I started this project. I just didn't know what would work for me and my teaching style, and not really knowing how I'm going to be as a teacher. I'm just really learning through our clinical experiences and things like that, and our practicum visits, and I'm really getting to see a lot in this internship part 1, and seeing other teachers' classroom management styles and seeing how some don't work and some that really do work. And I've been trying to figure out what would be best for me and the future of my classroom management plan and things like that. So to start this, I want to talk a little bit about the different theorists and talk about what their theory is kind of briefly, and explain some things that I agree with and some things that I might not necessarily agree with. In the beginning, I really didn't think that there would be things. I really thought that one would speak to me or another one would speak to me, or but doing more research and learning more about this, that it's okay that there are things that one theorist might believe works, and that I also agree with that, and it's okay that in that same theory there might be things that I may not totally agree with, and that's okay, because I feel like it's a very individual process of figuring out what you believe would be best and beneficial for your classroom. So to talk a little bit about the different theories. The first one is B.F. Skinner, and his theory is of behavioral learning. I do agree with apparent conditioning that there should be punishment for bad behavior, and there should be rewards for good behavior. I feel like that this would really motivates students because they are getting something tangible for their actions. If this is the negative behavior of talking too much, and then there's a punishment for that action, then they're more than likely not going to do it again. And then rewards, when you give them something for something they're doing good, they see that they were rewarded, and more than likely they will continue to do that because they want to continue feeling good about themselves and getting that reward. I also agree with positive reinforcement, which goes along with that. The reward system that, I've seen teachers give tickets out. I've seen teachers give money, like they have a classroom kind of like money system where they have money and they can buy things in the store. I feel like that this is very motivating for students, and really makes them more engaged because they're trying and aware of their behavior, because if they have that behavior, a good behavior, then they will get something in return. I do not agree with Skinner when it comes to his beliefs about behavior is unconscious. I do believe that some behavior is unconscious. Some people are just talkative. That's just how some people are. I know I personally was a very talkative kid when I was in school, and I just like to talk a lot. But I feel that a lot of the time, students know what to do when they want something, so they know that a certain behavior will elicit a certain response from the teacher. And a lot of the kids are not getting a lot of attention elsewhere, so they know that when they're in school they can get that attention if they display certain behaviors. So that sounds very like the kids are very aware of what they're doing instead of it being unconscious. Another theory is from Conan. I think that's how you say it. And his theory is lesson management. And this is when that the teacher should just do a lesson and make it engaging and fun for the students, and that if they make it engaging and fun, that this will eliminate the children's need to have it or display negative behavior, because if they're engaged they won't have time to show these different behaviors. I do agree that in the lesson management theory that teachers need to be active and alert at all times. That's if you're teaching a lesson, that's if you're watching, the students are doing independent work, you should be alert and aware, not just during a lesson. So I do agree that you should be active and alert. And I also agree that teachers should be able to juggle different things at one time, because most of the time, actually all the time, there's always multiple things happening in the classroom. If it's somebody's talking or somebody's got their hand raised and needing help, there's multiple things always going on. So that's pretty much a necessity of a teacher, is to be able to juggle multiple tasks at one time. And I also agree that smooth transition is extremely important. I know that in my clinical teacher classroom, that a big problem in her class is having too much time in between activities or during different things, and that this wasted time is really it's just an opportunity for the students to start misbehaving. So if she was to have something in place that would kind of take that time and have the students doing something else, that this would really greatly benefit them, because they don't have that big time gap there. So having a smooth transition in between the different things, or either if a student gets done with their work early, just having something additional for them to do, or a list or build on their understanding of what they're doing. Something that I do not agree with the lesson management theory is not addressing. In this theory, they do not think that you should address the behavior as it's happening. And I feel like that it's important to, when you see a student is displaying bad behavior or a negative behavior, that you should address it when it is happening. Because if you address it when it's happening, then the student knows that they should not be doing that, because it's happening right then. They know that I don't need to be doing that, instead of waiting until later or not addressing it at all. Then how are they going to know that they shouldn't be doing it? So I feel like that's important, to go ahead and address the behavior when it's happening, and just go ahead and get it out of the way. The next theorist is not, and his theory is congruent communication. And congruent communication is just when you are aware of the student's feelings. So I do agree that being positive towards the students result in positive behaviors, and also having a positive just outlook of students in general will build on that relationship with the student and make them feel more comfortable and trust you more, and so that will more than likely help in their behavior because they're feeling more positive about themselves. But in this theory, like the last one, they do not also think that you should address or call out the behavior, that you should just address the situation that's going on. So in the PowerPoint, I had an example of Tom is playing with a mop. And of course, we don't want, the students playing with a mop. It's disruptive, that kind of thing. So instead of telling Tom, hey Tom, you need to stop playing with the mop. Instead, in this theory, they would say, Tom, the mop belongs in the closet. So that's addressing the situation instead of addressing Tom is playing with the mop. So I really don't know in this situation how that would work, because you're still expressing that the student is doing something they're not supposed to be doing, but you're not doing it in such a negative way. You're more doing it in more so of a positive way. I haven't really seen that in the classroom myself, so I would like to take this and kind of put it into practice and see how successful it is, because I feel like that, when we call out a behavior, we're being negative more so, and that just addressing the situation is more positive. And I know that being positive will more than likely be more beneficial in the long run. So I would like to try that one out a little bit. The next theorist is husband and wife Cantor. They are responsible for the assertive discipline theory, and this theory is one that we more so see in today's classrooms, where the teacher is taking charge and is the center more so of the class, and when it comes to making the rules, that these are the rules, and you explain what the rules are to the students so that they understand what you are expecting from them. They also believe that teachers are responsible for taking charge in class, and that they should be firm in, their discipline and managing the class. So I do agree that you should be clear from the start that the teacher should be responsible for taking charge, and that it's important to, as a teacher, make it known that you're the teacher, you're in charge, and that if you do this, this, and this, that there will be consequences. But if they do good things, that we should praise them, and that's something that is seen in the assertive discipline, that they do believe in the use of praise. And I feel like praise is very important, along with being positive, that when you praise a student, that they will be more positive, more motivated, more engaged, because they are being recognized for doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I feel like that's more beneficial than always being so negative and calling out just a negative behavior, because we see time and time again people expressing the negative. And by praising, it does not only benefit the one that we're praising by making them feel good about themselves and that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but it also shows to those that may not be displaying the best behaviors what we are expecting them as teachers to do, and the behaviors that we want them to be doing. So praising them will show them who are not displaying it, maybe they need to do something different so that they can also feel good about themselves and get that praise as well. The last theorist that I have that I'm going to be talking about is William Glasser, and his theory is choice theory. So Glasser believes that a person's behavior is inspired by their wants and needs, and not so much from outside, things. He believes that the behaviors that may be displayed in the class might come from things they are not getting fully. So, like the 5 basic needs: survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun. So, if a student is not getting everything they need from home, they may start displaying, certain behaviors in the classroom. So, as the teacher, in this theory, it's our job to build a close relationship with that student to understand and know what their needs are, and that we are meeting those needs. So I do think that is extremely important to have that close relationship with our students, that we know, what they need, and what can we do to help them be able to get those, meet those needs for them, so that they can, not only start displaying better behaviors, but also just be able to feel more comfortable to learn and make in a classroom environment that is good for them. But in this theory, Glasser does not believe in rewards and punishments, because he thinks that would take away from the student's responsibility. So, in Glasser's eyes, he would want the students to make their own rewards for their actions and their own punishments, and that the punishments shouldn't be directed from the teacher, that the students should feel when they're doing something wrong, and that they should, self-reflect on that. So, I don't agree with that necessarily. I do feel like that there should be punishments for bad behaviors, or rewards for good behaviors. So after talking a little bit about each one of those theories, you see that there are some things that I agree with, some things I don't agree with, and I'm glad that I was able to see through this research that, that it's okay that I may not agree with every single one of these, and that's okay. Also okay that I can find things that I can pick and choose that I feel fits with my teaching style, and that what would work best for me in my future classroom. Overall, I believe that all of these theories have something to do with communication, and communication is so important, I feel like, in classroom management, because without communication, how are we to know, what the students need in order for them to be more successful, for them to be able to be better students. So I just feel like communication is key. That is something I learned through this. That rewards and punishments is also something that I feel is important to have in the classroom. And also just being more positive instead of focusing more so on the negative things. That being positive will lead to a more positive overall classroom. And that's my research.